And this is Dabu7. Last time I said February, but it is March 10th, 2017. Welcome everybody out there to the show, everybody that watches afterwards. Shout outs to everybody out there in the chat. It's been hanging out. Everybody coming over from the other channel chat. I tried to let folks know over on the other channel that we were going live, and it seems some people didn't think it was me. And I always tell people, click on my name or the icon, and you can see it's me. But now when I try to click on people's names in the chat, it don't take me to them. And I've got here feedback coming from somebody. Somebody got to mute their back channel, their back page. If you can, we got Mike that just joined us. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Just getting started here tonight. Glad you could join us. I thought you were in that group chat message thing there, so I thought that's why. He just now got you the link.
Listen, I have like 15
ton of different. I know.
Half of you are in one, and the other half are in the other, and so it's all good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've got obviously got Casey with us here. Erick M, watchers, be chiming in with us.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah.
Nobody didn't question the fact that that mic is on a mic.
Mic is on the mic.
And I've been a DJ since 1989, so you can imagine how many times I've heard that joke.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about here. We got a lot of different stories lined up. Just gonna start running through some. You guys got thoughts and opinions on them? Chime in. Just gonna go through some current. The hell is that? Freaking ad playing in the background. Go figure. I've got links for all this in the description box if you guys are interested in looking at any of the details of the stories we're going to talk about here tonight. Going to run in the same fashion and style we normally do here. Kick off with some recent events. Jeff Sessions has just asked Obama era attorneys to resign, basically. I don't think many people out there understand that when the election process comes through, sometimes this takes time for these people to fill these positions. And at this point, they're just giving 46 of them the axe from the Obama era. And a lot of people are assigned. It's different because, we vote out here for this person or that person when it comes to senators, governors, president. But once that administration gets in, they start picking all these other positions that we're not voting on. That are key positions out here in the game. But 46 people to get axed at one time is a significant number because there's only 93 U.S. attorneys. So that's around half that's getting the axe there. And it'd be interesting to see who fills the shoes of these people. Is it going to be establishment goons? Non-establishment? I mean, it's always interesting to see. But that happening. Now, I'm going to skip over here to Korea real quick because I've had people saying, will you talk a little bit about what's going on in Korea? Now, I looked at the feeds earlier, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong here. I seen somebody tweeted out something, and it had a picture, and it had labeled with Fox on it in the title that South Korea's president has been removed.
Yeah. Did
that happen?
Yeah. So I followed that really closely yesterday. There were a couple of things that happened in Korea in the Koreas yesterday that are kind of mind-boggling. South Korea's they voted her out. She's gone. So they impeached her, and she's no longer president. They removed her from office last night. Which is an interesting conclusion to the day when earlier in the day they moved a significant amount of their military up close to the border of North Korea. And North Korea was actively preparing yesterday and the day before out in the streets specifically for a nuclear war type scenario. So all of that happened yesterday just in the Koreas.
There was a mass protest yesterday inside of South Korea, which left a good amount of people injured due to the protesting.
And the link that I've got in here shows that the U.S. is forging ahead with sending their THAAD missiles to South Korea. So,
well, it's pretty close actually right now. It's not that far away.
Yeah, I have pictures of all that too. Them loaded up.
So this wasn't a brand new election, like a scheduled election. This was just the people came up and impeached this individual.
So there's a scandal in the South Korea parliament. I don't know exactly what they call it, but there was some type of, she fell on one side of something. People, sharing information. I don't know exactly the story. I'll have to look it up, but
I heard that she had
Watchers?
Uh-oh, lost him.
I thought that was on my end.
Oh no, he just went completely silent.
Oh, here.
Too much truth.
He didn't get a chance to start going.
Right here. Park Geun-hye from 2013 to 2017.
Oh no, did I accidentally just block? Oh, I did. I think I just accidentally blocked somebody in the chat. If so, I hear about it. Let me know. Dabu7yahoo.com. I try to go in when that happens and fix the situation. But what I'm finding out is a little bit something's different here with both my channels. 777 operates different than 77 for whatever reason. Completely different with the functioning, the whole nine. When I try to adjust the moderators over on that page, it's set up completely different than what it is over here. If I try to manage the moderators, it'll pop up on this page and I can see the list of like Lee right there. And I can see a list of all my mods and I can hit X, I can remove them. Over on the other channel, it's not like that. It takes me to a whole nother page. It opens up with a whole list of everyone that's been banned ever. So basically I have to go through there and surf and try to find your name and then exit out if that happens. So you've got to make sure you send me the exact screen name.
It's funny that you mentioned that because that's kind of how it is for me with my Erick M and Erick M2.
They are different?
They're like two completely different setups.
That's interesting.
Never me.
Yeah, and it's been unique to watch over time how the algorithm and the attacks. And Casey's going to talk a little bit more about this here in a little bit. But everything that we go through here, the channels definitely are treated differently. And then when you have multiple channels, you get a chance to see that. And sometime I thought maybe it was because I associated that other account with a network at some point, but it's not just with that. I've been far from them for a while, and it's the whole layout, the way it responds, everything.
You're even modding, being a mod in that chat. I was blasting out this link in the 777 chat right before I came in here, and the typing was weird. Like it let me send one or two, and then it just stopped.
You were able to drop a link.
Oh, I dropped a wall. I put a blue
I seen
wrench
that.
wall
I
in
seen
there.
It was a full link though.
Yeah. So you
wouldn't let me.
So what
You
it does
wouldn't let
is
me.
when you drop it in, it shortens it and puts dots at the end of it. So you can't copy it out of the chat. You have to copy the link from the page of the live show, and then copy that, and then continuously paste it. If you copy it out of the chat itself, it's got dots at the end of it. It shortens it when you drop it in there. So
okay,
it won't be
good
hard.
information there. Shout outs to everybody that's tuned in. Shout outs to the mods, seeing Lee out there. See ToBeFree. No B's listening in. Gonna shift gears here to this next story I got lined up talking about, and this is interesting to me because I always talk about the world stage. I always talk about these characters out here, and it's in my belief truly that these guys like Tony Blair's and your Bushes or your Obama, your Trumps, your Putins, your Nigel Farage's, whoever they are, they're part of this world stage. These characters, well, they have this talk about Nigel Farage having links to Julian Assange now. And I was questioning, because I always ask the hard questions. You've got to get those answers. When WikiLeaks was being dumped constantly during the election, I kept asking, well, because at some point, at one time, for like a day or so, his server was taken out. He was taken offline at the embassy where he was at. And I asked myself, well, if I put myself in the shoes of them and they really wanted to take this guy out or silence him, then they could have just done this the whole time and kept him in the dark. It seems like they're allowing this information to flow out. Is how I felt about it. It was all perfectly timed too, with every punch of the election. And as I'm watching this, It's all right. It happens. As I'm taking this all in, I see this whole Nigel Farage connection that he is seen leaving, and they're wondering, how is Julian getting all this information? Where are they? What mole? Who's the person? Who's this or that? I think they know full damn well what's going on, but I think that's larger than what some people can wrap their head around.
Yep. No new information on 9/11. No new information on Sandy Hook.
Never.
No new information on the Boston bombing. No new
Never.
information. That you can't tell me out of all those tens of thousands of emails that not one conversation was had about 9/11. Not one. The WikiLeaks were scrubbed before
It
they got
should
to
bother
us.
people, in my opinion, that you're never told any updates on that. It should make people think long and hard, man. This should be constant updated information and findings on the nope, nothing.
Yeah. And here's what happened. They forgot to erase the Pizzagate stuff. Their algorithms didn't work on someone talking about ordering hot dogs and pizza. So they goofed up, and then they were scrambling to cover that up. That wasn't supposed to make it through the WikiLeaks scrub.
With Podesta's, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Did you see my video earlier that I put out on Podesta?
Yeah.
The connection, and for those that didn't, all right, the guy connected to the whole Pizzagate is John Podesta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. His brother is Tony Podesta. He runs the Podesta group. And it just so happens that they are buddy and been working with the largest bank in Russia this whole time. So you can see the hypocrisy out of the Clinton campaign. Trying to say Trump and Russia, all this crap, Trump, Putin, this and that, constantly, it's Russia, when they're sitting there dealing with them. And not only that, they were pushing to get sanctions dropped on that area of Russian banking. And they were pushing for it. So they were working with the Russians, trying to get the sanctions dropped in the whole nine. But yet you never heard a word about that during the whole election psyop, in my opinion. So I thought that was interesting that the brother there was connected right there at the top levels.
Exactly. I'd like to see an executive order to free the internet from ICANN. Why wasn't that one of the first things done? Why did we turn over our internet? We need it back.
Good points.
Everything changed on YouTube in October of 2016 from inside sources that I have.
And it's been changing slowly every month since.
Yep, here and there.
I've been told that YouTube now has voice recognition software where they can actually go in and tell what you're saying.
I know they do.
ISIS.
I know they do. This is how they're censoring our video. I know it now because you don't have to put ISIS in the title. All you can do is say it. And the algorithm picks it up and yank you.
They upgraded the algorithm that detects music, or it can now detect everything instead of just the rhythm inside of a song.
Right, it deciphers the words, it deciphers.
And can you imagine if this acts similar to the other things that flag shit, like the word bomb or something like that, that's going to send a flag to the FBI? Could you imagine how many flags this thing's sending and picking up? On conversations is picking up? How many keywords is put into its system?
Right, but yet when you go on to Google News, when you go on to Yahoo News, when you go on to any other news source, Good Morning America, you go to their sites, fully funded. They can say whatever they want. That is an attack on free speech. It is defunding and discouraging free speech. And basically, YouTube is going to become a place of people petting their cats and people jumping around in Superman costumes and BS. And I'm done. And it stops today.
Wait till you guys see what happens with cell phone technology next. I was just having a conversation with
we had a good conversation about that. I wish we were on there
before this. So, right now we still have the luxury of our voice calls and our text messages being routed through a cell phone tower, which presents a whole separate set of challenges as far as monitoring is concerned. They've got it all down. They had that down before they got digital monitoring down. But now combine the two. Now there's no more cell phone towers. They'll pull them down off the mountains and they'll attach something to a telephone pole
within the next few years.
Which is But it's in the process of happening.
Well, everything, all telecommunications will be through a data network instead of being through cellular.
Done. Cellular tower is gone. No more. You don't have to worry about a dip in your signal because you live in a valley or you live on the top of a mountain. It's all going to get routed through, fiber optics, just like your home services are.
Which is why if anybody pays attention to any of the FTC and FCC stuff, which is why so many of these these companies like AT&T and T-Mobile have been buying these low band 800 megahertz and 700 megahertz frequencies to try to wean off of this cellular service to being all data and then just transmitting through these boxes that will be on the utility poles that will do all of the phone information.
It's a scary thought, man. So, we came into this talking about, and we've all seen the clips of video over the past couple of days, and everybody's put something out about it, of what's going on with, what's the Amazon product, Echo, or the other one in the video.
They're asking it, are you connected to the CIA, and the thing shuts off?
Yeah, what is that?
That's crazy.
Alexa.
Well, to clarify on that, and I re-uploaded that video, and I didn't realize most people didn't know, but if you ask the Alexa a question that it does not know, it does not answer. That's right. To provide some clarification to that.
It should say that I don't know then. And
it really should, but that's just something they did not program into it.
Well, that's pretty stupid given it says every damn thing else.
A key point here, and it's really important with this particular topic. This is the 5G service that you're going to be hearing about. So when you start hearing 5G through the names of some of the the four majors anyway, that's what it's going to encompass. It's going to encompass moving away from cellular towers. We've all heard HD calling the past couple of years. There's a setting in your phone you can turn it on and off. Now it's in its mid-level stages. It can connect to your Wi-Fi. You can do an HD call if you have a close enough signal to your Wi-Fi router. But it's all going to be 100% Wi-Fi shortly. Which
I don't know
if it combines monitoring capabilities on all types of communications.
Yeah, and that's when it gets scary, when they've got their tentacles around everything, everywhere, tapping into everything.
And even with that too, with the whole 5G thing coming in, this also will bring the smart technologies into even bigger than what they are now. Like the smart TVs, the smart refrigerators, the smart ovens, all of this stuff where you'll be able to connect to it wirelessly and do like all your things and all of that stuff. This 5G will provide even quote unquote better ways to use these technologies.
Well, that's how it all starts.
Cable boxes are gone.
That's how it all starts. It starts by them giving something away. You guys, it's crunch time. It's time for a gut check. All the support for Trump, but yet the cogs of the wheel of the machine of the New World Order are just still moving. Yeah, we've been throwing a few bones, but what I'm seeing is that there is more rule of law. There are tighter controls. And you got to ask yourself, is the serpent constantly trying to pull you back into the beast? Or are you trying to more live like the Messiah told you to live? And you got to ask yourself, what do you stand for? Why are you even here watching this video? Are you here for truth-ertainment? Or are you here because you actually want to make real changes in your life to listen to some of the stuff that we're trying to help you guys understand?
And that's a good term there, truth-ertainment, for these channels out here that fluff it all up with shock titles and everything else. And it becomes just that for some folks, just another form of entertainment. But it's dangerous because you're taking these half-truths and twisted stuff, twisted reality, and accepting it as it's just like the mainstream would do with twisting stuff and everything else. But did you guys, I'm sure most of you guys out there know about the whole Shiloh LeBeau thing, right? I'll never say his name right. I had people contacting me specifically about this, asking me if I could help with this, but before I could even do anything, it looks like they captured the flag and have this in the title. That's what it stands for. His flag was captured because, from what I'm getting, one of the Anons, an autistic boy, was studying the flight patterns of the planes in the sky. And he studied in deep to the trails, off flight radar, the patterns, and they zeroed in just from the flight patterns where this flag was, and they went and they took it down. But it's interesting to note that just from a camera pointing up at the sky, individuals are able to zero in on a location. It's that easy.
Never mess with the power of the bee.
So there's a link for that down there.
Really quick, can I make a quick comment?
Yeah.
For homes that have the LED lighting now, did you know that if you really wanted to, you can make it to where off of the flickering off of the LEDs, you can make a entire live video feed just from the lights that can show everything going on inside of a room. And I don't know how well it will do with colors, but I know it does it flawlessly with like the shadows, where you can tell a person's actually standing there or sitting there or whatever, and that there's objects around them, and you can tell what the objects are and all of that stuff in real time.
That's what's
and
wild.
now inside of these smart homes where your electricity is connected with the internet, that brings into a whole nother thing. Now there could be a surveillance feed coming in just from the light inside of a home. You don't even need a camera, just the light.
Yeah. Yep. It's interesting.
You know what people don't understand is this is only going to increase with time. There ain't a damn thing that Trump's going to do about it. Okay. All of this surveillance is 1984 police state. It's not going to change. And they can give us everything they want. They could build 1,000 walls. They can say they're going to improve the economy. But what's the price? The price is our privacy. The price is control. And I was shocked when I saw fully 1/3 of my channel be defunded. I was in literal shock that they can just go through with a marker and mark yellow 1/3 of your channel. It was almost like they were trying to make a point. And I got news for you guys. We have one life to live. We all are going to die. The question is, how did you live your life? What did you stand for? Some of us fight the grain. We fight against the current. We're like a trout in the current, standing still as thousands of cubic feet per second pass by us, fighting the current, making headway slowly but surely. And others of us go with the flow. We tie into the beast. We give into weakness. We give into addictions. What kind of person are you going to be at the end of the day? Who are you? What do you represent? When you're on your deathbed and they pull up the spreadsheet of your life, what did you stand for? Were you weak or were you strong? And that's all that matters, you guys. Did you love?
Good point. Well said. It's truth. Good way to describe it in fighting the fight there. Always, going against the grain there. And it's the truth. It's constant struggle. It's not going to ever end. It's not. They're going to continue the pressure on people like us for sure. And anybody coming up out there that's tuned in that has aspirations to do this, rep the truth, fight the fight. Well, first off, your heart's got to be in it. You got to want it. You got to want to know the truth. That's what got me started here. My desire want to know the truth of everything. I'm going to flip over every rock. And then when I come across all this crazy stuff, I want to share it with others and let them know. And that's it. That's how this whole thing got going with me. But Casey said it there in the end. It's about how you live your life, how you cut your path. Good or bad, I always say, in the end, throw your energy on the scales and you reap what you sow.
Yeah, people want to come trolling us and minimize the work that we do. I recommend they step in our shoes. And if you want to talk about going and working for somebody else, making them richer, okay, and you think that's a noble job, that you become a slave and pay a mortgage and all worried about the things that you possess, and you think that that's the path that Christ intended for you? You want to come and step in our shoes and make a fraction of of what we made in our previous lives so that we can serve the true master, the Messiah, and live like he wanted us to live by spreading truth and being hated? Then you come right on ahead and step in our shoes, and let's see how long you last. I've seen 100 YouTube channels come and go, and they can't cut it because they're not here for the right reasons.
Yeah, and you'll see more do the same. But I mean, you know, in the midst of all of it, there are new channels that arise up out there that come up that are true, and you come to find out. Some of you out there that got your own channels and you've been fighting the fight, you know that it is a fight and that there is censorship. You understand it. It happens to you on a daily basis with the videos you do, the things that you go through. You see it. You know, you were hearing it from us, but now that some of you stepped up and you're doing it, you're seeing it for yourself. And that changes things because you're more aware of what's really happening, and then you're talking about it to the people around you. And people can start to see. But I want to finish up here with a couple articles here real quick before I tear into the last bit of this. One here off the wall has to do with Idaho. And in terms of this country, the reason I bookmarked this is because, you know, at one point, the money here in this country was backed by gold. And then we've seen everything that's happened since then with it not being backed by anything, to them printing endless amounts of money. But gold still, well, being worth its weight in gold. And silver the same, these precious metals. But the thing about them is, as I've shown here in the past couple months, and if you've missed it, big companies like Deutsche Bank have been busted manipulating the price of it. I mean, whole market's rigged. You hear every year, you hear the stories of, oh, it's going to collapse this fall. It's like a repeated cycle. Doom and gloom. And there are bad signs. There are spikes. There are dips. There are things.
But the thing with that, though, is they're not going to tell you or give you an idea on when exactly it's going to happen because they don't want you to take your stuff out of it.
It's very true. And it's, in my opinion, there's the way this is set up, all of them have to abide by the same rules. They can't just go yanking out all their stuff, or that will cause the collapse inevitably. You see, when all of them just start pulling out everything, you know, there has to be a chunk of money put in there or kept in there to keep this thing alive. But everything ends up boiling down, if you take away the paper money, to gold and silver, what has been used and minted as currency for thousands of years. Idaho just did something that I thought was pretty critical for them. What they did, I mean, and this is like saying in Kentucky here, we're going to stop taxing you on this or that. Well, they said, we're going to not tax you anymore on gold and silver, which is key. There's zero tax connected to it now.
You know where everybody's going to be selling their stuff to now.
And that's a big move for them. To do this with this bill, to end the gold silver taxation. And, you know, will other places step up and follow suit? Well, we've heard other states talk about picking up their own currency, period. And crazy talk like that. Hell, we've even heard of the different states talk about seceding from the states, Texas and California at times. But I thought that was interesting that they had a bill doing that because, you know, that's one thing there with no tax that is actually a rare element that any of you could go out and find and sell and not get taxed on it. Get every penny on it. So I'm going to switch gears here to this last bit. Three stories here. Get the book of Enoch. I'll line up last. Talk about this ley line structure that I'll have Casey talk a little bit about too. And it all ties in to this main story. And this is, for those that haven't had a chance to read this, make sure you read what they're saying here in relation to this. This is exactly what it's saying. They're saying a new state of matter. It's going to take people out there a second to even wrap their head around this. They're talking about a new state of matter, and they have developed the world's first time crystal. Now, I'm going to read a little bit here, just from the top couple lines, so you can get an idea of what they're saying. They're saying an impossible state of matter, heralded as the world's first time crystal, has been created in a laboratory 5 years after the existence of these fourth dimension atoms. This is what I want you to wrap your head around. They are now talking to you about 4D in its lowest, most smallest form. It is being introduced into this reality right in front. And this is the same thing that CERN was hinting at with folding the fourth dimension, 4D, into this one. Now, the image that they got here is pretty wild. And they show the different patterns in nature, like snowflakes and things like that. But they say the time crystal was created using a chain of atomic ions. You have to remember this, atomic ions, which move in a pattern that repeats in time rather than in space. You have to be able to wrap your head around that. Okay, they say this contrast from other crystals such as salt, snowflakes, and diamonds, which are arranged in a repetitive 3D pattern. So this is different. And take the time to look into this. What they've done is they've struck these ions with different beams, and they start to arrange themselves back into a different but the same arrangement, but at half of the power, basically, is what they're saying.
Almost like self-organizing.
It starts to get crazy. I mean, it's going to take some time to sit down and absorb all this information. But this is the tip of the iceberg. And this just came from a new study. They're saying that this was released from Joint Quantum Institute and the University of Maryland. Published this groundbreaking discovery in Nature. That's where they posted this. Wonderful. And they also say that there was someone else posted something similar to this from another university, but they used something different. But they go on to say that the bottom line to this is just like quantum mechanics or a quantum computer, just like you can take quartz crystals and pack all this information into them. We talked about it with the Crystal Skull, Legend of the Crystal Skull, all the information that was stored inside of that crystal skull.
Quick thing on that, they actually do make CDs, which are expensive, but they do make CDs out of those types of crystals. And it stores a lot of information, way more than a standard CD. I think it's like 10 times the amount.
And that's in a very itty bitty little crystal. This is where the crystals come in key here. But now they're sitting here telling us they've got a brand new form of this.
Now, here's the interesting thing about the hexagon. The hexagon is not a natural pattern that occurs in nature. It's almost as if the objects in nature that manifest as hexagons, such as all snowflakes, have a basic hexagonal pattern. We also have the honeycomb, of course, from a bee that manifests in a hexagonal pattern. We also have 3 separate structures of the inner eye that manifest as a hexagonal pattern. There's the epithelial layer underneath the cornea. When you do cross sections of that, it is hexagonal cell matrix. You also have the cross section of the lens of your eye that is a hexagonal matrix. And finally, the cross section of the rods and cones that line the back of your eye. So you have 3 layers of these hexagonal patterns. And isn't it interesting that at the North Pole of Saturn, we have a hexagon?
Yes.
A 3-dimensional cube.
And where do we have it? Also at the South Pole right here on this planet.
Yes, and I believe it's the hex. The hexagon is the hex that was put on all creation when we fell into sin, and it basically tainted. It's like a marker that tells us where we are within the prison.
And Saturn's always connected right there in the name, closest to Satan, Saturn. And it's also, through some legend, said to have been a dwarf star captured. And that's why the ring is around it. That's just some different legendary talk. We can go on and on about the makings of the planets, but Saturn definitely with that pattern has always intrigued me, because the only other place we see it is right here on Earth, and it like matches.
Yep.
Here in the solar system.
I believe it's sending out a signal. I believe it's like a giant dish, and it's basically sending out time. That's why I call it Chronos, and it becomes the sine wave that encapsulates our entire reality.
I tell you what, I've seen a lot of things through my telescope, and looking at the moon always is interesting. But when looking out there in deep space, I just got a little Galileo. The one object that I've locked onto that has always stood out is Saturn. You can see its rings. I mean, they're massive. You can see its tilt at different times. It's wild. I mean, you can see all the features, and the fact that you're not just looking at a little ball like any other planet, you can see the rings around this bad boy. It's like, what? It's just crazy.
And what a lot of people don't know is that the outer ring of Saturn is not a ring at all. Guess what it is? It's a spiral. And guess what the yo-yo came from? It's basically the rings of Saturn unwound and wound back up. And that's why
you cut out. Say that again.
The ring of Saturn is a spiral. And that's what the yo-yo came from ancient Greece. They were duplicating the shape of Saturn and its ring. And when you unwind the yo-yo, it's like the ring of Saturn being unwound and wound back up on a yo-yo. And that's why Saturnalia, they sing Io, 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 which is yo, 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 Saturnalia. And they knew in ancient
And what
Greece,
is that connected to? What holiday that people celebrate?
that's Merry Christmas. Exactly.
There you go, with some background information on that. Yeah, and speaking of these places, we talked about the ley lines before. I want to get this in here before we finish up. And you have a lot of knowledge here on this, Casey, because you've done so many videos on not only this to 88s, but the ley lines themselves. And we've talked many times about some of these lines, but if you go to the link that I've got in the description box, this one specific line, there's different names for it. So we call it the death line. It runs from Baalbek through Silbury, and it goes through the stone spheres in Costa Rica, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but these spheres are wild. When you start to see these images, they dig them up all over the place down here in Costa Rica. They're unique to this area, and they have no answer for exactly what they were. Some of them are absolutely massive, and they're perfectly round spheres. They're just all over the place.
Perfectly.
Perfectly. And it's almost just like going to Easter Island and finding these statues out of nowhere. They're standing there looking off in this direction.
By the way, there's 888 statues on Easter Island, just so you know.
There is. Now let's follow that 88.88 degree line somewhere else. And when it comes to Easter Island, it was named Easter Island from its original name in 1888.
Oh,
so you can see all the connections that are there. And it was called Rapa Nui, is what it was called. Now, if you go from this whole Stonehenge alignment and you run this through from Baalbek through Stonehenge, you come across the upper New England part here of the United States, and then it goes down and cuts right through Teotihuacan. We've talked about that. It also, now this line passes through these cities. It goes through New York City, Washington, D.C., Boston, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Atlanta, New Orleans, and then hits Teotihuacan. That's all the cities that this ley line passes through. This is the one that is aligned to Stonehenge, to Baalbek, and others around the globe, so that people understand, those cities are in alignment for a reason there. They were put in position for a reason. And there's no way that this is pure coincidence, because you're talking ancient monuments all the way to modern. They know these secrets. They're still building along the same lines. And this is why I said before, it's almost like they're giving us a blueprint. I almost feel like if there's going to be something hidden in the ocean or in a jungle or in a forest, you're going to find it along these lines if you just follow it. You know, if I'm going to look for Atlantis anywhere out in the North Atlantic, I'm going to look somewhere along these ley lines first. You see,
Yeah,
in terms of finding mysterious places, and you never know what you're going to find. Seriously.
exactly. And these ley lines, it's interesting because I almost feel like these lines were put in place to reinforce and bail or the ball.
I can't believe you said that. That was the next thing when you scroll down. It says Temple of Baal.
Oh.
Pull up the page, people see it. It starts going right into it right now.
Wow.
Go ahead.
And they're reinforcing that image. And this all goes back to the Vesica Pisces, the crossing and colliding of the two worlds. But they're not worlds. They're actually seeds. And in the middle, you have the arch. You have the oval shape where these two circles intersect.
The football shape.
Exactly. Now, here's what's going on. You're right. They've set up these temples all around the world. They all actually, many of them, these ley lines exist on one single line. They've taken one single line and drawn it around the entire planet. And there you'll find the most ancient sites in the entire world. How did they know? How did they know where to put these sites when they didn't have airplanes back then, when they didn't have trains, when they didn't have automobiles? They didn't have anything according to what history tells us. But yet, these sites are aligned to the inch.
I'm almost wondering by looking at this map if fucking Mount Hermon isn't right on the path, dude. Because it's sitting right here next to Baalbek in Syria, and they're talking about the Gouda chemical attacks in 2013 in Damascus. It's sitting right next to Damascus. Mount Hermon is just to the west of it.
Wow.
So this doesn't give me a chance to zoom in, but I'm going to look into this further. If Mount Hermon sits on this line, it just is like the icing on the cake. But on this line, we had Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. JFK Jr., he actually went down off the coast of Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, on this line. Sandy Hook is on this line. The Virginia Tech massacre on this line. The Atlanta Olympic bombing on this line. The Boston Marathon bombing on this line. The World Trade Center 2001 on this line. World Trade Center.
Notice all of these major cities.
The Pentagon, all of on this line, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, people can sit there and say, oh, this is crazy. It's conspiracy. It's this and that. Keep turning the cheek. There's something here. Not only were they doing it back in ancient time, the Masonic individuals that designed DC, put up the obelisk and everything else there, they knew damn good and well what they were doing, where they were doing it. And that's why it's the way it is. It's crazy, but
And there's something to it. And I think it represents the fallen angels when they built their ancient temples.
But you said it. You found the Vesica Pisces half piece at the very top of Mount Hermon. It was like a collarbone or a wishbone. I mean, it was a perfect top of the perfect cut in half of it, like marking the spot.
Right.
And, you know, I'll finish up here with the book of Enoch because this is what we're all tearing into with the fallen ones. I want you to go ahead and speak your mind. And when you're done here, what I'm going to do is read real quick, chapter 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 off the book of Enoch. And just to give you a taste of what it's about and what he's saying here in it.
Well, the big white elephant in the room that religion denies, world leaders deny, that everyone is in the dark about, is that the very center of the history of man is the mixing of the two seeds. This is why we are under the curse. And this is why blood had to be shed to correct our tainted blood. This is why the Vesica Pisces is so important, and why at the center of the Vesica Pisces is the football shape, but it is also the fish on the back of your car if you're a Christian, because Jesus was the one who corrects the blood. And that's why when he cast his net on the right side, he caught 153 fish, which is the mathematical equation of the center of the Vesica Pisces. 153 Look it up.
And what are the odds of that? That's why when in that video of numbers and distances from all the tallest peaks, including Mount Hermon, there were all these repetitive numbers. It's not coincidence. It's embedded within it. It's like embedded within it's part of the coding.
But the fallen ones rejoice. They rejoice in the Vesica Pisces because to them it means something different. It means that they combine their seed with the seed of man. Now here is, I'm going to share screens real quick, and I'm going to show you this one line that goes around the entire world and all of the ancient temple sites. This is it right here. Mohenjo-Daro in India.
Is key.
Exactly. Let me share screens here real quick.
For those that don't know, Mohenjo-Daro was nuked.
Exactly. And they have
Turn to glass.
In Egypt, the same thing happened. We had these megalithic structures, the tallest in the world of these ancient pharaohs, dashed to pieces with some kind of cataclysmic event.
Crazy you say that because I did a video today. They discovered one of Ramses, the pharaoh, and what he have? An elongated skull.
Yes. In the book of Solomon, or the book of one of the books of the Kebra Nagast talks about the journey of Solomon's son, Menelik, and he had the Ark of the Covenant that he stole from King Solomon on his way back to Ethiopia, and he passed through Egypt. And guess what he did? He laid waste to all of their idols. So there's your cataclysmic event that destroyed Egypt right there in ancient text. Now, this is the single line that connects all these ancient sites across the world. There's Nazca, the Nazca lines, Angkor Wat. Mohenjo-Daro's in here. Here's Giza.
And ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to realize when looking at this, dead center. Do you know where that is? That is Mount McKinley. That is Mount Denali that Obama renamed it in Alaska. It is the tallest peak in all of North America. And what are the odds it is sitting dead center? You don't think something's there? You don't think that that's not of importance to be central to all of this? I do. I think it's big time, bigger than anybody knows, than anyone's ever been able to expose. There's a reason why all these places across the globe circle this one spot. And it just so happens to be the highest peak. I so wish I had my ruler. They took it from me on Google Earth. I cannot believe that. After doing the video of talking, sitting there of all the measurements across the planet that I did with all the repeated numbers and everything, I've tried again and again and again to get that to work, and I can't because I wanted to go back in and do just this, go from Denali to Mount Hermon and see what the distance is and see what numbers we start to come up with. Do some other places, but it's going to have to be on someone else out there to do, if you can hear me.
Yeah. They still didn't give that back to you yet? That's crazy, man. When you first mentioned that, I thought it might have been just like a glitch in the system.
No, because I'd have done tour into a whole nother video of measurements and everything else. And it's almost like it ties right in with, I feel, censorship, man. I don't know how else to explain it.
Have you tried deinstalling it and reinstalling Google Earth?
Yep.
Now, are you signed in to Google Earth?
Signed in, signed out, done everything.
Or try reinstalling it and not signing in.
That was the first thing I did the last time I tried it. But yeah, I've tried a lot of things. Trust me, I'd have done the whole day. It frustrated me for like a half a day.
Did you ask Alexa for your Google?
I don't have Alexa.
Thing back?
I'd smash Alexa.
Well, it's okay. You don't need Alexa. Just talk to your desk lamp. You know what I mean? Your desk lamp can order it for you off of Amazon.
Samsung Smart TV.
Samsung Smart wooden dresser, you know? It's got a chip in it. It's cool.
Yeah, we went live just before this show. If you guys get a chance, sub to my channel, watch the live video. We went into some deep truth about some of the fundamental issues going on in this world, and it's a real gut check. So make sure you check that out on my channel if you haven't already.
Yeah, make sure to check out all these guys. So you got to work. Make sure to sub.
I
Everybody's
did my first show on Wednesday. That went good. Thank you for coming on, Dabu and Watchers and Eric. And missed you on the first night, Casey, but you're a busy guy to nail down. But it was a good show. We had a good panel, like 7 people.
yeah, it was good talk.
Was it that many people?
Oh no, it was 6. There was 7 because there were 2 of me in there. I was on my computer and my mobile device. So, but yeah, it was good. That's the Wednesdays at 9:00 on Mike Robertson
Eastern.
That's right.
And go ahead.
I just want to give some shout outs and some
Yeah.
love to all the people that come and make our channels what they are. It's all of you guys. And I have to admit, I get distracted sometimes in my life. And I have a renewed commitment to you guys because you guys have been there for me for the last 5 years. And I love each and every one of you. And you make Enter the Stars. And so there's a lot of love on my channel. For those of you that haven't come and checked it out, that's where you'll find encouragement, love, as well as here on all these guys' channels as well. But sometimes we let things get in the way in our life and we think it's good and it ends up being a train wreck nightmare. And that is when we have to take a stand and refocus and remember why we're here and what we stand for. And it's time for a gut check for everybody. You know, you got to think about what you stand for. Who are you in your core? When you go to sleep at night, what did you do today to help the world? Were you a slave? Are you a slave to a substance in your life? Is it your master? Or when you go to sleep at night, did you affect change in this world somehow? Did you touch one person at least?
Oh, it's so true. So true.
That's why we're all here, you guys. And sometimes we focus on the bad stuff. It's because we're surrounded by it. And until people snap out of it and wake up, nothing's going to change because we are the change. It's each and every one of us that make the change. Until we realize that, nothing's going to change.
Yep.
Good,
I want to
good words, Casey.
I want to finish up here with, well, as I was telling everybody with the Book of Enoch, I'm just going to read a little bit from here. And you guys can read into this more on your own, but this correlates with everything he was saying earlier about the mixing of seeds. And this really paints the picture. And it everywhere we've talked about, they even mention here. And it matches a lot of other scripture that talks about the same thing. And the Nephilim coming down here and they bore giants in those scripture. It overlays with that. So you can see the story being told again. But here from chapter 6, it starts like this. And it says, and it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days they had beautiful women that they bore across the earth. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them. And they said to one another, come, let us have wives among the children of men, and beget us children. And Simjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And then they all said, they answered to him and said, let us all swear an oath and bind ourselves by mutual imprecations not to abandon this plan for anything, but to do this thing. Then they swear all together and they bound themselves to this and they set upon it. And they were in all 200 that descended. And who descended down here, they did so in the days of Jared, and they landed on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called this place Mount Hermon because it was sworn and bound to this commandment that they took, the imprecations that they swore everything to, they put upon it. And they say that the names of the leaders here, and I'm not even about to rifle all their names off because I'm just going to mangle it. There's some crazy ones there. You guys can read them. It goes into chapter 7, and it says, and all of the others together with them took unto themselves wives, each of them chose for themselves one wife, and they began to go unto them and defile themselves with them. They taught them charms, they taught them enchantments, and the cutting of roots. They made them acquainted with plants. Then the women became pregnant, and they bore great giants, those whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisition of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. They began to sin against the birds, the beasts, the reptiles, the fish, to devour one another's flesh and to drink their blood. Then the earth laid its accusations against this lawless one. Chapter 8 says, then Azazel taught men how to work with swords, knives, shields, breastplates. And this is very similar to Nimrod. And made known to them the workings of metals of the earth, how to make bracelets, ornaments, how to beautify the eyelids, and all kinds of other precious metals that they adorned. And out of this arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication. They were led astray. They became corrupt in their ways. Simjaza taught enchantments and root cutting, and Amoros, the resolving of enchantments. Barakiel, they're saying, taught astrology. Kokabel, the constellations. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Arakiel, the sign of the earth. Shamsiel, the sign of the sun. And Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and it went up to heaven. Then it comes in with the other legion of angels. Chapter 9 says, then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw this blood being shed upon the earth and the lawlessness that was brought upon it. And they said to one another, the earth has been made inhabited or uninhabited by man because of basically the giants and everything going on there. And God turned to them, listened to the cries of man. All the souls that were killed by these giants, all the souls that were here, pleaded to the Most High. It made it to the ranks of the Most High that they see what Azazel has done. And the Most High saw this, the unrighteousness on the earth, and said that he was revealing eternal secrets that were to be preserved in heaven. And these were the things that men were striving to learn. And Simjaza was teaching these people, or his sons, their sons, the giants, these other ones, they were teaching them these things. See, the rest of society and everyone else wasn't taught these things. Sound pretty similar to today. And it rolls over to chapter 10, and I'm kind of zipping through this. It gets to the destruction of this planet, and they lay waste to Azazel. And you can see when you read into this how all of them, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, they were commanded by the Most High to do certain things and to eliminate not only these individuals, what they call the watchers, but and the offspring of the watchers. It gets deep on how far they were willing to go to eliminate the offspring of a seed of these entities that came down on Mount Hermon, that took women, and they bore giants. The story is now here again in a whole different text, telling us the same damn thing. And that's where it's interesting. That's just a few chapters out of it and tying into everything that we were just talking about.
And they were bound. The spirits were bound for 70 generations.
For 70 generations.
And we are at 70. We are close to 70 generations right now in history. And you know, it's interesting because it's the reflections of things that reveal the truth. And when you look at the summit of Mount Hermon and you see the football shape, you understand that what's missing from the football shape is 2 letter C's pointing, facing each other. And it isn't interesting that the letter C represents the number 100 in Roman numerals. 2 C's is 200.
And that's
The exact
exactly how
number
many
of angels that
You're
descended on that point. Of the
marking it.
mountain.
Wow. You see, you just, it's not coincidence. You can't make this up. These are the signs. You talk about signs. These are them.
CC is also 33, which is the exact coordinate that they came down at. 33.
Realm seeing it. Yep. At this.
And even though God made an edict in the book of Enoch that their offspring would be destroyed, some remained.
They
And
did. Even right after the flood, they were right there, and they said it.
Yep. So there you go. Good reading, Dabu. That was good.
Yeah, well, it's better when people have the time out there to dig into it for themselves, and that's just one. That overlay that with the Testament of Solomon, of all these other things we've talked about. It's just, you start looking at ancient India and Pakistan and what they talk about, battles in the heavens, Vimana, aircraft, whole places being laid waste, turned to glass. And it's still that way. Their stories match what happened on the ground, showing proof that something huge happened, especially in, what was the name of the area right there in Pakistan? You said? I'm going to say Angkor Wat or whatever it is now. Mohenjo-Daro. That's it. Look up Mohenjo-Daro. And you'll see it's a wild one. And I've heard years ago, I'd heard stories how ancient battles had taken place even here in this country. And where it happened was in the areas of Arizona where Phoenix is. And it's interesting because that whole area is the way that it is, of sand and desert, and of the name Phoenix rising again. But we wouldn't know much about that when we're not taught any of it in school, huh? That's what keeps us going. I want to thank everybody that's tuned in here tonight, a little after 9. Thank everybody that always hangs out with us. Want you to make sure to check out all these guys' channels. I've got some exclusive stuff I'm going to be doing here as the weather breaks. You know, we spend time running the streets and stuff like that, but I also like the adventure side in me. I like to get out and go after some of these mysterious places. I've been up to places, like Serpent Mound, explored up there, did some investigating. I want to go to more places like that. Problem is, a lot of the places they make national parks and make very damn difficult to do any research in. And so you got to be diligent and you got to just keep striving. But there's treasures out there all over the place. There's intriguing stuff. There's shipwrecks. There's all kinds of wild stuff out there.
And gold. There's gold in them there hills.
Oh, there's all kinds of rare earth elements out there across the globe. But not only that, it's the Indiana Jones type of stuff. It really intrigues me, finding that hidden cave that no one's been in for thousands of years, and stumbling across this ancient pyramid in a section of jungle that no one's ever seen yet. Because things like that are still popping up across the globe, believe it or not.
Yeah. And for those of you that want a little homework tonight based on the stuff that we just talked about, because we did talk a lot about the Book of Enoch, here is your homework. You got to find out who the original gangster was in the Bible. And that was a man by the name of Og. He was the original original gangster, because he was from a city called Bashan. Write this down. His bed was 13 cubits tall.
15
also
feet.
Look, what's that?
15 feet.
Yes. Also look up the man with the spearhead of shekels, 3 times the weight of a normal spearhead for a man. Also look up the giant of the Philistines, who was Goliath. Also look up the man from Gath, who had 6 fingers and 6 toes. And that is all the information you need after the flood that demonstrates there were giants on the earth after Don't let anyone ever tell you that the giants were all wiped out of the earth and that the bloodlines do not persist today.
Oh,
because
that's what they want you to think right
they're
there.
this country. Abraham Lincoln, 6 feet 5 inches tall. Lyndon B. Johnson, 6 foot 4 inches tall. Donald Trump, 6 foot 3 inches tall. The 3 tallest presidents. You think that doesn't mean anything? You're sadly mistaken.
It gets deep, and it gets so deep sometimes people can't see it at first. It takes time for things to materialize. I'm telling you, man, some people tune in, and some of this stuff can blow your mind. It could be a lot to take in at one time. I understand that, but just remember, we ask you to go out and do the legwork. We're not asking you to sit here and believe in every word that we're sitting here speaking. We want you to go and validate it yourself by doing the legwork, the research, and then when you're reading it with your own eyes, when the things start clicking inside your head, then you can start to see that. You can start to see what's happening. When new pieces start to fill into the puzzle, then all of a sudden, truly, that bigger picture starts to emerge. Like he was showing you the line across the globe. When you start to see these things and see that there's things in motion that are set into certain places for a reason, then there's more to it. When you start to see that bigger picture, that is when you're starting to awaken. Thank you, Illinois. It's appreciated. Shout outs to everybody out there that's tuned in tonight. Everybody out there in the chat. Shout outs to the mods. See B Rich out there right now. See 2B out there earlier. Lee. Shout outs to everybody.
B Rich is in there. What's up, B?
When we say it's about love, it's about walking righteous, man. Everyone makes mistakes. No one's perfect. But you just got to walk with the good of things in your heart. And that's, I covered Capture the Flag and everything with that earlier. If you guys missed it, those tuning in late. Mr. Anderson, much love. Christina, Suki, Galen, Eduardo, Heidi, August, friends, Tony, Joshua, Lola, Morgan, T. Kerr, Patricia, Paul, Borovetsky, Miss P, Forever in Stone, Traffic, Kiwi, Get Money, Brock, Zombie Gore, Daniel, USN, Acute, Jason, Chris, Zana, Danny, Julian, QC, MN. What's up, Eric? Shoni, Justin in Buffalo, Tom, Kamaka, Christina, SK, David, T. Kerr, Rutger, another Mr. Anderson, Lee Beasy, EM. Oh, man, it's moving quick. Morgan, I think I see. Much love, y'all. Lee Beasy, Chris.
Love everybody.
Obadia, Brandon, EP, all y'all. Yeah, we'll sign off for tonight. Like I said, links in the description box. Make sure to check out everybody else here. And we will see you on the flip side. It's been Tabu 7. And also, for those that have been asking, I've got the other channel up and going strictly because people want an area to chat and all that, where I'm not going to be on there live all the time. And I want to make it clear, when I fire a fresh one up, I chime in live for about an hour or so.
Sorry.
And then I start the news feed. And this one from tonight will be kicked off into that news feed rotation, and it'll be over there to catch as well. So, yeah. Sub everybody's channels up. I appreciate all the love from everyone out there fighting the fight. We're going to sign off. It's been Tabu 7 and the crew. Signing off, some underground world news. This is Illuminati.